Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Higgin Shir Torah. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Smith Shlita on the halachos of benching of the Sheva Brochos. I'd like to give a big yashikoyach to Rabbi Yitzchak Janklowitz for sponsoring today's shir. V'nishmas Oviv, Rabbi Fol Zev, Rabbi Nelson, Spend the bracha. Outside today, Chavkat Shvat and Shmos Tzur B'Tzur HaChaim. To have the great kosos sponsoring shir, call Irgun Shir Torah at 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. Now Smith.
My sister Hayadu was by Shabbos Sheva Brochos. The whole Shabbos is a beautiful simcha, and they came shlishis. They benched, said Sheva Brochos, and then they're holding two kosos, one for the benching Sheva Brochos, and no one knew what to do. I guess it was the first time simcha for both mechutanim. They weren't sure. Do you drink? How much do you drink? Who drinks? And then a beautiful Shabbos simcha ended in a sour note. They probably didn't know what to do. So I wanted to go through that sugya today, which, as we'll see, besides the Shabbos Sheva Brochos, it touches upon the major recited of benching with the kais, or b'chlal Sheva Brochos, or the halachos of kais shel bracha. We'll touch upon a sugya of chavilas. And I think really what we have to do, like we try to always do, to find one yesod and understand in this sugya, why do we have two kaises? Which is the main kais? And do you have to drink from the kaises or not? So certainly we're going to begin with a daily shaila, and that is the question of using a kais for benching, a kais of brachos hamazon. As we see, many people are makpid to use a kais for benching. Many people are not makpid. What's the story? So the Gemara in Psachim Kuf Hamed Beis says, Shema mina bracha tuna kais. The Rashbam explains, brachos hamazon must have a kais. Now, there's a big tumult. You look in Taisvis and the Rishonim in Kuf Pei Beis, the Beis Yosef brings a number of days. But to make a long story short, there are some shittas that hold that a kais shel brachos hamazon is an absolute must. If someone doesn't have a kais, he shouldn't eat. Someone on a Friday night only has one kais of wine, he should make kiddush on pas and use the kais for benching. There's another shita that holds there's only a chi of zimun by three. The first shita holds even by one person that benches, you have to use a kais. Second shita is only three people, there's a chi of kais. And there's a third shita in the Paiskim, Taisus quotes it also, that there's no chi of kais brachos hamazon at all. It's a maila, but it's no chiyuv. How do we paskin? So Kuf Pei Beis Sif Aleph, Mechaba quotes one sheet that even one person that benches needs a kais, and if you don't have a kais, don't eat. Wait. Another sheet, there's no chiyuv at all, and the Ramah concludes mitzvah min hamuvcha levarich ala kais. And the Kafachayim points out that even the Mechaba is moida mi'ikad din. There's no chiyuv kais. But it's a midas chasidus, it's a mitzvah min hamufcha. Now, once you hear this, you understand why many people use a kais. Some say it's a chiyuv, and minimally it's a mitzvah min hamufcha. The question, and really the Mishnah already points this out in Sifka and Dalet, that the minhag is not to use a kais. Why not? So, basically the Aruch HaShulchan in Sif Gimel says, we don't have wine. We just learned the other week, the Gemara in Brachos says that they abolished the chiyuv of havdala ala kais because they didn't have wine. If you didn't have wine, then you couldn't bench ala kais. Rav Moshe in Yeridei Chela Gimel Simenun Beis says a real Rav Moshe var. And Rav Moshe says that really there's a mile to use a kais, but there's a chesaron, because if you use a kais, you have to drink. We'll soon see. Ideally, you're supposed to drink a revius. We paskin in halacha that if someone drinks a revius of wine, he can't paskin shailas, because his mind is clouded by the alcohol. So Moshe says, "Oy vazoi," there's a reason not to bench al kais, because after the Shabbos seuda, what are you going to do after the Shabbos seuda? Right? You learn for 6 hours straight, right? But if you drank a revius of wine, you're not going to be able to concentrate as well. So maybe there's a bigger hiddur not to use a kais and learn your 6 hours, and not to share your learning. So everybody sees things from their perspective. It's interesting. I'll tell you the shitasei. Parshas B'chukaisai, one of the brachos is oichel kima umizbarach b'meya. You eat a little bit and you're satisfied. So for most of us, that's not a great bracha. Imagine you go to a chasana, a real fancy chasana, and you're fasting 3 days. You can't wait to get to the chasana. You eat one bite and you're stuffed. You can't go weiter. What kind of bracha is that? But the Moshe, in the Darash Moshe says, that's a bracha. You have more time to learn. You don't have to be busy with gashmias and eating. Eat one bite, you're ready to learn for 6 hours. So, people see things from their, understanding. But halacha we see, I guess, part one, that there is no chiyuv of using a kais of benching, but there's definitely a mitzvah in hamufcha. Now let's move on. If you use a kais, do you have to drink? A simple nafkamina is you mechaber someone for benching. He says, I could bench, I'll be the mazaman, but I can't drink the wine, or grape juice, I can't drink. Or, our shayla. You make Sheva Brochos, you bench with a kais, maybe you don't have to drink. What are you using a kais for? So that's our next question. Is there a chiyuv to drink from the kais shel bracha? Or maybe we'll say it's literally a brachos mazon ala kais. Ein oimim shir ala yayin, use a kais. You have to drink it? Who said? Maybe a little bit's enough. That's our shayla. So, Lamaisa, there's also a big sugya, but lahalacha Lamaisa in Kuf Tzadik Siv Gimel, the Mechaber says when you have a kais shel bracha, you have to drink minimally a malay lugmav. A malay lugmav is a little more than a half a revius, approximately 2 ounces. You don't need a revius. A malay lugmav is enough. The Shulchan Aruch does add there's a mila to drink a revius for a different reason. Because there's a suffix how much wine, how much any beverage requires a bracha chreina. Some say a revius, and some say it's a kazayis. A kazayis is 1 ounce. If you drink a malay lugmav, you yaitz a kais shel bracha. But you have a suffix, maybe you have to make a bracha chreina because it's more than a kazayis. So whenever you have a kais shel bracha, a malay lugmav is enough. But you have a shtickle of a suffix if you have to make a bracha chreina. So it's preferable to drink a revius. Halacha, a malay lugmav is enough mitzad kais shel bracha, al suffix bracha, drink a revius. Fine. Let's move on. Next question. Good, someone has to drink the kais shel bracha. Does the mezamein dafka have to drink? Let's say he doesn't want to drink. Could he get someone else to drink? So here the shayla is, do you have to drink, or does the kais shel bracha have to be consumed? Someone else could do it. So listen to a mechaba in recited Siv Dalit. Im mavarech einay reitzel litaim, yitaim echad mi mesubim kashir. You don't have to drink. Someone else could do it. It's fine. Zok the Magen Avram, even though there's a shita lagabi kiddush that the mekadosh has to drink, but kais shel bracha is not as demanding. Someone has to drink lav dafka the mezami. But you have a problem because of the bracha. Let's imagine I bench, I don't want to drink, I give it to someone else to drink. How could I make a bar pri agafen if I'm not drinking? I can't make a bracha for someone else if I don't drink at all. But wait a minute, I have an eitzah. When do we say you can't make a bracha for someone else? That's a regular birchas hanenan. If I'm drinking coffee and you're not, you can't make a bracha for me. But a birchas a mitzvah, I can make for you. The Mechaber says beferish, kiddush in the morning, which is only a bar pri agafen, I can make just for you. So why can I do it here also? I'll make the gafen and you'll drink it. But there's one big problem. We just finished saying that there's no chiyuv to use a kais shel bracha. So if so, it's not a chiyuv. It's not a mitzvah. So maybe it's like a regular birchas hanenin. And that's Rabbi Kiva Eger's problem on the page in Shulchan Aruch. He says, if you don't want to drink that kais of wine, you can't make a bar pri agafen. You want to give it to a drinker to do? Fine. Let him make the gafen. So now we have part 2. Chiyuv, there's not a chiyuv of a kais shel bracha, but you don't have to drink, someone else has to drink. Now, if I make the gafen, drink a drop, and give it to someone else to drink, or vias, or lugma, that the holidays, But here we see, if you're not drinking at all, don't make the bracha. The Bialacha has a problem, and he quotes a Chacham Tzvi in the Tshuvas Kuf Samaches, that if the Mezman doesn't make a bracha on the kos of benching, it's not a kos of bracha. You holding it and not even drinking, not making a bracha. But then again, what do you do with the bracha? What do you do with the drinking? Zok to be Allah, a beautiful yisoid. He said, I don't think Rabbi Kiveg is right. Even if there's no chiyuv, berachas hamaza in kais, but all agree it's a mitzvah min hamuvcha. So let's focus on the word mitzvah. Since it's lakulam a mitzvah min hamuvcha to drink the kais, so we'll call it a kais shel mitzvah, no different than kiddush, and I could make a gafen, not even drink a drop, and give it to someone else. So therefore, everything is satisfied. I make a bracha, give it to someone else, and shalom al Yisrael. Now, of course, you have to realize, if Rabbi Kivegi says you can't make a gafen for someone else, it's preferable, when possible, that the mezamein makes the bracha, drinks a drop, nothing will happen, and then gives the rest to someone else to drink. So we have the following. There's no chiyuv kaishel bracha mitzvah min hamufcha. The best is the mezamen drinks a revius, that's ideal. V'lo lugmav is sufficient for kaishel bracha. And if you can't drink it, make a bracha, drink a drop, or minimally, make the bracha and give it to someone else to drink. Now, if that's the case, that it seems that if nobody drinks at all, that would be an effort of futility. You're holding a kais for a reason. So now we have a problem with our Sheva Brochos. If you're going to say that you can't drink the wine of benching Sheva Brochos because it's before havdala, so why are you holding the kais? What are you gaining? But there's a glimmer of hope. Listen to an interesting shayla. A Yom Kippur bris comes up occasionally, and that's really, the person finds himself flustered, what do you do with the kais? It's Yom Kippur, even the oldest shouldn't be drinking the wine if they don't need it. So who drinks the kais? So the Shulchan Aruch in two places, in Archaim Tafresh Chaval of Gimel, and in Yeridei Hilchas Mila Reisa Mechei Dalid, the Mechaber says, therefore, by a Mila on Yom Kippur, don't use the kais. Make the brachas gesundheit without a kais. And that's the minhag of Svardim. On Yom Kippur bris, there's no kais. The Ramah in both places says no, take a kais, and the minhag is that you give the baby to drink. Now that's a chiddush, because the baby is barely 8 days old. He's not even 8 days me'es leis. He's not a bar chiyuva. So who's making the bracha? The one that got the bracha. And he's making the bracha for a baby, 8 days old. And please don't give the baby malay lugmav. So you're not even getting malay lugmav. So what do you have? A drop? You know, like Magen Avraham says, like with the maya chayim, a drop. So he has 2 drops. So how does this work? How does this work that a adult makes a bracha, gafen, for a baby 8 days old that drinks a drop? Zok taz in Yeridei, that really there's no chiyuv to drink the kais. It's only, we have a kais, ein oim shir alayai. You want to give the kais, the mitzvah cheshivas. So you're holding a kais by the mitzvah of Mila. But it's not like there's a chiyuv of shtia. So therefore, even a token drinking of the baby is enough. The Magen Avraham and Archaim says, Diffaloshin, really you don't have to drink, it's just a genai, if you don't drink. So the baby's drinking is sufficient. So if you realize, we're making a chiluk. Benching, which is a din Gemara, that you have to have a kais, like some shittas, you have to drink. But the the mila kais, it's not in a Gemara. It's just a mila. You want to enhance the brachos. That doesn't need a shtia, and a baby's drinking a drop is enough. So now we see that usually you need a malay lugmav, but there's a kais that is only there ashira alayayim. For that, even a drop is enough. Now let's move on to the next stage. Okay, you're benching by a regular shlishis. We're going to get to Sheva Brochos soon. A regular shlishis in your own house or in shul, and you have a mezman, you have a minyan, whatever it is. Bekitza, you're benching ala kais by a regular seuda shlishis, and you make you finish benching, you're holding the kais, and you ask yourself, what should I do with the kais? Now let's think of our location now. It is way after the Zman. We're talking about a long shlishis. Rabbeinu Tam is already in Avos Abundant program. He's already sitting and learning after havdala. There's no doubt about it, the Zman is over. I just finished benching, and I said Ritzei in benching. I did not say Baruch HaMavdal. I am in Shabbos. Can I drink the kais after benching? So let me put this in perspective. If I have a late shlishis, I could eat and continue eating as long as I don't stop. In fact, someone once asked me a beautiful shayla. He had a late shlishis during the winter, and he wanted to have dessert. So a piece of chocolate. So the halacha is you make a shackle for dessert at the end of a seuda. He was all concerned, maybe he can't have dessert now. Why? Because he's going to make a shackle, so it's like after the seuda. After the seuda, you're not allowed to eat. So I told him, wait a minute, this is part of the seuda. But right when you bench, you include that chocolate also. Why do you make a bracha rishayna? Because it's not a tuffle to the pas. But it's part of the seuda. It's v'achalta, v'savatu, v'rachta, benching patazim. So we feel comfortable the entire seuda you're allowed to continue, even dessert. Maybe the kais of benching is the end of a seuda. In halacha, it's more important than your dessert. Like tzama tzachiyah. So the question here, it boils down to something very simple. Is the kais of benching the end of the seuda? So since you could have a long seuda and dessert, maybe you could also drink the kais. Or maybe the kais is after the seuda. I'll put in Lashon Kodesh version. Is the kais the gemar seuda? Or is it achas seuda? If it's the gemar seuda, we could understand you're allowed to finish the seuda. Drink the kais, make an agefen, and go daven ma'ariv. Then you can't eat after kais, but the kais you're allowed to drink. Or maybe no, the seuda ends with benching. This is a post-seuda activity, and you can't drink it because it's before havdala. That's the shayla. Maybe we'll say, it depends. If the chiyuv use a shel bracha, it's part of the seuda. So then you're allowed to drink it. If it's extra credit, maybe tak is not part of the seuda. So listen to a mechaba that discusses this question. I mean, not meferish, but that's what he's alluding to. In Reish Sadik Tez Dalit, a person was eating and it became night, shlishis that is, you don't have to finish, you don't have to stop the seuda, you're allowed to go in sudasai, umavarach berchas hamazayin, ala kais, and the mechaba says, if you have 2 kais of wine left, good. Use one for benching, drink it, and then on the second kais make havdala after ma'ariv. In other words, the mechaba clearly holds you're allowed to drink the kais of benching by a regular shlishis because it's apparently the end of a seuda. And that's the minhag of Svardim. We'll soon see that's the Menesh Chai says, Kafachayim say, the minhag of Svardim by a typical shlishis, lab dav Sheva Brochos. You bench all the kais, drink the kais, and then you go to the Avamayr. But says the Magen Avraham, I don't understand this. Bishleima, if someone is ragil, which means he always uses a kais, ragil means whenever he has a mezman of 3, weekday or Shabbos, he uses a kais, like the Gemara, like the shita that machma. So if for you it's you're ragil, for you it's part of the seuda. But if someone's not ragil, gam ata asa lishleis mimenu. Zok the machzah shekel and the levusha yisrod, because the Magen Avraham understood that it could only be the end of a seuda if you're makbid to use it. But if you don't use the kais all the time, it's not part of the seuda. Last week you didn't use it. When you're at home, you don't, only in shul. So it's not part of the seuda. If it's not part of the seuda, you can't drink it before havdala. The Rav Shulchan Aruch in Brachos the Gvap Kunch Zachem Tzit and Beis calls it a trei kuli de sasri adadi. Last week you didn't use a kais. No, you don't need a kais. Now you want to drink it before havdala? I thought it's not a chiyuv. Now, lamaisa, it's very possible to argue and say, I don't understand this. True, I hold it's not a chiyuv, but if I'm using it, I'm not doing it for my health. I'm using it for a mitzvah. So for me, today, it's a mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, it's the end of the seuda. And that is the time of the Tosfos Shabbos, Yitkat and Zayin. He says, even if it's not rogil, but mitzvah mihil ikka, don't forget the Ramah says, the kulal mitzvah mitzvah amufcha, you're allowed to drink it, v'chein noihagin. The El Yerabah and Sivkot and Vav quotes this. Magen Avraham says, v'einay muchrach. The Kaf HaChaim, Sivkot and Chav, the Orchos Chaim, the Spinka also quote a Ma'oriya Or that asks the same kasha. If Lamaisa, the person uses the kais, it becomes part of the seuda. So why does it have to be totally in ragil? Magen Avraham held, if it's not ragil, it's not a chiyuv. What is halacha Lamaisa? So as I told you, the Ben Ish Chai in Shana Beis Vayetzi Chav, the Kaf HaChaim, Sivkot and Chav, say the minhag of Svardim is you always drink the kais of benching by seuda shlishis. The Tilo of David, the Mincha Shabbos, L'kut Marich, and others say the minhag of Ashkenazim is like the Magen Avraham, not to drink the kais of benching unless someone is ragul. The Sam Seifer used to drink the kais of benching because by Shal Shudis, because he was ragul to always use the kais. Very pashut. But if you're not ragul, you can't use the kais. Can't drink the kais. But I have an idea. Listen to this. Maybe let's talk about a case. I'm not ragul. I can't drink the kais. But I have a way of satisfying both opinions. Maybe I'll just drink a drop of wine of the kais, make a gufan, drink a drop, and go weiter. What do you gain with a drop? Maybe I won't be worse than a baby by his mila. A drop is enough. How could you drink a drop before havdala? The answer is why not? I'm allowed to drink or eat before Ma'ariv as long as I keep it down to a te'ima. Just a little bit. I can't have a seuda before Ma'ariv or before mincha, but if you have a te'ima is mutter. Or I point the shayma to remind me to daven, I'm allowed to eat before davening. So why can't I drink the kais of wine, a te'ima, maybe even a revius, and get a shayma? You ever think of that? But it's not true. Because we don't eat or drink even a drop before Kiddush. It's before, same svara, just have a coffee, a te'ima. You could drink a coffee before davening, even before Shabbos. So why before Kiddush is different? And you look in the Mechab and Reish Ayin Aleph Siv Dalid, Asa litem klum koidim shikadesh. Zok Rabbi Kiva Eiga on that Mechaba, on the Magen Avraham actually, he says because eating before a mitzvah there's a heta of te'ima. But then his lashon is eating before Kiddush, the achila batzmusa yo issa. It's the eating that's asa. And the Achrayim explain, because that's part of Yikra de Shabbat, that's part of Kavod Shabbos. The first eating on Shabbos is Kiddush, mitzvah. The chayra, the same applies regarding havdala. It's not just don't eat or drink before the mitzvah of havdala, but the Kavod Shabbos is don't eat or drink before havdala. That's first things first. Havdala is step number one. And you look in the Sharatzian, in Reish Tzadik Tes, Sivka and Vav, he says regarding havdala, Mechab is talking about Kiddush, but regarding havdala, even te'ima is asa. So here we see it's more challenging than we think. Eating or drinking before Kiddush or havdala, even te'ima is asa. And we can understand, even a shayma won't help. Because you're not allowed to eat or drink Shabbos or Matzai Shabbos, both of them are covered Shabbos, before you do the mitzvahs, hayoim of Kiddush or havdala. So now, we're back to our dilemma. What do you do with a kais of benching? By a regular Shabbos, by a Sheva Brochos. Now, I give the baby to drink on Yom Kippur. That's fine. That's a different question entirely. But regarding before Kiddush or havdala, there is l'chayra no heta to drink even a little bit. Therefore, I saw in the Seiva Smachis that the Tzayir of Liski Zechayna Levracha in Chelik Dalet Siman, in Siman Dalet Ha'or Kuf Tzadik Gimel, he says if you're going to bench on a kais for Sheva Brochos and you're not going to drink at all, he says like Asa Klum U'L'Schayk Yechashev. It's a joke. What are you benching on a kais? You're not drinking it. It doesn't have a din kais shel bracha. But then he adds, and he's not being cynical. He says, Mechaba says in Siman Tzadik Vav, you're not allowed to hold something during Shemayin Esrei. Because you have to be focused. The Shulchan Aruch and Kuf Pei Gimel Siv Ches, you're not allowed to hold something. It says that benching is like Shmein Esra. So it makes sense. You're not allowed to hold something during benching, like Shmein Esra. So he says, if you're not going to drink from the kais of benching, then don't hold it, because you're not gaining anything, and you're only violating halacha. You're not allowed to hold something during benching. If it's not a kosher bracha, you stop holding something for no reason. So he says, basically, if you're not going to drink from the kais, it's not a kosher bracha. And he throws in a raya l'dava. The Gemara in Eruvin wonders if you're allowed to say shechianu on Yom Kippur, because there's no kais, and you the shechianu said al kais. Why don't we say hold the kais, say shechianu, and then don't drink it? There it is. If you don't drink a kosher bracha, it's not a kosher bracha. So here we see something very challenging. If you're not eventually going to drink from the kais of benching, it's not a kais of benching. It's down a joke. It's holding a kais for no reason. I have a great idea. Bench ala kais on regular Motzei Shabbos, whether it's in your house or in shul, then make havdala on it eventually. So then at least eventually, when you drink the kais of havdala, you also drink the kais of benching. And that's what the Ktseis HaShulchan in Tzadik Dalet Tes, and Rabbi Yashiv is quoted as saying this as well. If you hold that you don't drink the kais of benching, let's say Ashkenazim, and you're not rogil, bench ala kais, wonderful. Cover it, go daven ma'ariv. Don't bring the kais of benching to shul for havdala later, because that's achana. You're going to bring it now for after ma'ariv, it's achana. Also, why did I say cover it? Because you're not supposed to use, the Mechaber says a chiddush, but in Reish Ayin Beis, C page, you're not supposed to use Yayim Agula for kiddush, even though we're not makbar on Gilui. It's a cover of the kaisel bracha, should not be left uncovered. Even a shamu etes lechatchila, the Paiskim say. So you bench, whether it's in shul or at home, don't drink the kais, cover it. After Ma'ariv, you gotta go home, or in shul, in yeshiva, in camp, it's very common. They bench with a kais, they daven Ma'ariv, and then they make havdala on that same kais. So here you have a wonderful idea. You end up eventually drinking the kais shel bracha, you bench ala kais, and shalom al Yisrael. But you're probably wondering, if you remember from last time you learned Masechet Pesachim Daf Kuf Beis, the Gemara discusses if someone has a late Friday afternoon seuda, and he wants to go right into Shabbos. Now this typically could be Negeya, Purim Shechal Erev Shabbos, which is going to be next year, Ba'aleinu L'Toiva, or Simchas Torah Shechal Be'erev Shabbos. In both scenarios, you have a late Friday afternoon seuda going into Shabbos. So the Gemara has that famous idea. You bring a kais, two kais actually. First you bench, Payras Mapa, Makadesh, and continue the seuda. Zoktamar, why do you need two kaises? Why don't you bench ala kais and then make kiddush ala the same kais? Zoktamar, nah, das passt nicht. Ein oise mitzvahs chavilois. You don't do mitzvahs, wholesale. Just, to get get it over with. One after the other. Shoot. Family pack mitzvahs. One kais, two mitzvahs, just a be to get over with it. Rashi in Seuda Daf Ches says it looks like the mitzvahs is a masu your love. Toises in my cotton Chesed Bay says you have to give every mitzvah your full undivided attention. Don't be busy 2 in 1. Do one mitzvah at a time. But be that as it may, we are concerned about oiseh mitzvahs chavilas. And if you look in Toises in Pesachim, Toises gives a wonderful example of chavilas. Zok Toises, by a regular Sheva Brochos, why do we use 2 kaises, 1 kais for benching and 1 kais for Sheva Brochos? Economize. Use 1 kais for both. No, Zok Toises, ein oiseh mitzvah chavilas. It's 2 separate mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah of benching that's negay every single day, and the Sheva Brochos mitzvah is only for chas and kallah. Tosfos gives that example, and then Lamaisa, I'll tell you another mashal that hits home even more. If you have a same kais for benching and havdala, it's also chavilas. It's 2 separate mitzvahs. What does benching have to do with havdala? Now you'll ask me, wait a minute, but last year we had Pesach Shechal B'Shabbos, and Matzai Shabbos was Yom Tiv, we made Kiddush, and then havdala on the same kais. What's the cheshbon? Zok the Prisha, and it's Pashit, because benching and havdala have no shaychus, or benching and Kiddush have no shaychus. In fact, he calls it Shnei Afachim. But Matzai Shabbos Yom Tiv, Kiddush and havdala are the same purpose. They're both allowing you to eat the seuda. You have to make Kiddush, but today you have to make havdala. So if it's the same purpose, it's good for an halachos. But lemaisa, benching and havdala is taka chavilas. Now let's look once again at the Shulchan Aruch and see how much beauty there is in the Mechaber's Lashon that we said earlier, and maybe didn't realize the extent of it. The Mechaber says, if it comes a time, the late Matzai Shabbos, you're in the middle of a seuda shlishis, regular Matzai Shabbos. So bench, and then make a bench, use the kais for havdala. If you have two kaises, bench on one kais, and then make havdala on the second one. What's the cheshbon? This point. Chavilas. You can't use one kais in both mitzvahs. In the first part of the Shulchan Aruch, he said you're allowed to use the same kais for both, because you only have one kais. What could you do? Chavilas is not ma'akiv, it's a preference. But if you only have one kais, what should you do? So Rabbi say it comes out that in our case, l'chayra, since you have no choice, you have a kais shel bracha, and you can't drink it. Why could you make havdala on it? But that's not so true. Why don't you make bench ala kais, make havdala on a second kais, and then drink the first one? And that's what the Rav says to do properly in Sifkat and Zayin. Well, that's the right way to do it. Bench ala kais, don't drink it. Havdala you make later, and drink both kaises. The only issue that lemaisa, that's not the minhag. In many shuls, certainly many yeshivas and camps, they bench ala kais, cover it. After Ma'ariv, they then take out the kais and use that for havdala. Chavilas, says the Tilo David Sifkat Nalach, L'Vushay Mordechai, and Aleph Kuf Tezayin, the Ketzer Shechon I mentioned earlier, says this also. Since there's a Ma'ariv in between, so the Ma'ariv is mafsik. It's not like you're doing it wholesale. You bench, Ma'ariv, at least 20 minutes, and then you use the kais. What the Mechaber was talking about, Rabbi, so you look at the first Mechaber, he meant you bench ala kais, you can't drink it right away, make havdala before Ma'ariv on a new kais, and then drink the first kais, and then go to have a Ma'ariv. That's what the Mechaber meant. We don't do that. Says the Shmir HaShabbos, Nun Tes Tezayin, we rely on those shittas that you're allowed to bench ala kais, not drink the kais, cover it. After Ma'ariv, you had a break, use the same kais, and make havdala on it. In other words, really today we have plenty of wine, we should be using two kaises. Havdala on a second kais, a different kais, and then drink the kais of brachos mezman. But it's not necessary because we have this svara of the Ma'ariv being mafsik. So let's be clear. In a shul that does not drink the kais, shall brachos mezman, cover it, leave it there. After Ma'ariv, take that kais, make havdala, and shalom al Yisrael. The question is, many shuls, there's no havdala. So what do you do with the kais? So I tell you, the Sheva Brochos says it's a bracha of havdala. It's not a bracha of havdala, it's an effort of utility. Don't bench al kais. But I must mention, Rav Vosman Chelik Ches Reish Mem Beis, he says, even if you don't end up drinking the kais, but the mere fact there's a mile of ein oimim shira el al yayin, it's worthwhile to hold the kais, bench, and pour back into the bottle. Now the truth is some shuls use the same kais for years and years. It's probably very spoiled, so you have to keep checking to see what is its status. But here we see that it's even possible to bench ala kais, put it back in the bottle, and use it for next week. Now let us begin part 2, and that is a Shabbos Sheva Brochos by seuda shlishis. So let's put things in perspective. Now you have double trouble. A regular Shabbos seuda, you have one kais, okay, megitza chaneitza. Now you have two kaises. You have the kais benching, kais Sheva Brochos, and people that are bewildered. What do I do with the kaises? Who drinks what? How much? So that's what we have to try to clarify. On a typical seuda shlishis Sheva Brochos, what do you do with the kaises? So here we're talking again, it's zman ma'ariv, it's a tam zman, it's definitely laila. Now, during the seuda, you could eat seuda shleim v'shaita. But now, what do you do with the kaises? So, for a Svardi, there's no problem. A Svardi drinks a kais by regular shalashudis. So, why is this different? It doesn't make a different ruggle, as long as you have a kais mitzvah. But the problem is for Ashkenazim, that if it's not ruggle, we do not drink from the kais of shalashudis. So why is Sheva Brochos different? But there's one redeeming factor. Because even though most of us are not ruggle to bench on a kais always, but regarding the kais Sheva Brochos, that we are ruggle. Because no one makes Sheva Brochos out of kais. Even though in Shulchan Aruch there are days that hold you don't need a kais. But vivait, we are all ruggle to use a kais for Sheva Brochos. At least let us drink the kais of Sheva Brochos. That's for ruggle. Zogt ab Shleim Bekluga on the page in Shulchan Aruch recited Tes Sif Dalid. It says an Egena Yisoid, but he says, we don't drink the kais of benching. If you're going to drink the kais of Sheva Brochos and not benching, it's a zilzul in the kais of Sheva Brochos. So therefore, believe it or not, you have two kaises and don't drink any. He says, if someone wants to drink the kais, ein mazichicha noise, I'm not going to yell at him, but I think don't drink any kais. Now, you have to realize, if you go with that minhag, then you don't make a bar pri agafan either. It's absolutely wrong to make a gafan and not drink anything. So now we just trimmed Sheva Brochos into sheish brachos. But that's what Rav Shlomo Kluger says. Now, of course, the best thing would be, if you have this minhag not to drink at all during the Sheva Brochos, cover it, daven ma'ariv, and then after ma'ariv, you'll make havdala on that kais or those kaises. This way, at least you'll end up drinking the kais shel bracha. Chavilois will rely on the shita that the ma'ariv is mafsik. And then you could drink and give the choson kallah. But I'm sure someone is starting to get all nervous. Give kallah from this kosos. It's not just kais of Sheva Brochos, it became kais of havdala. And we know people are very makbid about kallah's drinking, women drinking from kais of havdala. So first of all, the whole premise is not so pashut. Let's put that mildly. Because Lamaisa, even though the Magen Avram in Reish Sadik Vav Sif Katan Dal quotes from the Shlah Kodesh that women should not drink the kais of havdala, but it's not an issa. And especially in our case, where it has a different identity to it. It's not just the kais of havdala, it's the kais of Sheva Brochos or benching. So the fact that you added havdala does not make it awesome, and I can prove it to you. Because when Matzoi, last year Pesach fell on Shabbos, Matzoi Shabbos, we made Kiddush, typically Kiddush and havdala in the same kais. And no one says women don't drink from that kais. So obviously, even if you're makbid not to drink, but if it has a different name to it, it's fine. Especially in our case, we take the two kaises. We take the kais of Sheva Brochos and the kais of havdala, whichever one you use, and mix it. So once you mix it, it's certainly not a problem. And as I told you, b'chlal, not everybody is so worried about women drinking the kais of havdala. The Leket Yosha, the minhagim of Trumas Hadeshem, in Hilchos Matzoi Shabbos Sif Vav, it says that when he made havdala, it describes a beautiful process how he gave his children and grandchildren brachos. But after he finished havdala, every one of his daughters-in-law, granddaughters, got a kais, part of the kais of havdala, and he gave them brachos for the new week. Even the mishameshes, even the cleaning lady got a wine of havdala. So obviously it wasn't such a problem. And b'chlal, someone told me recently that the Satmarov once needed a quiet Shabbos. He went to Bel Habat, a wealthy balabas, a clean-shaven balabas. And after havdala, he heard noises, commotion. So he said, what's the matter? So he said, apparently the balabas heard the Rebbe's havdala and the wife didn't. And she's all upset. So he said, Satmarov said, why can't you make her own havdala? She says, no, you can't. They grow a mustache, grow a beard, So the Rabbi says, tell her husband made havdala 40 years and nishkashat. So what is she worried about? So obviously it's not something terrible, and we see from the Paiskim. So, but Lamaisa, you could mix the kais and give it to the kallah to drink, and Shalom al Yisrael. Now, Lamaisa, you should know this. There is such a minhag, and in fact, I saw that sefer that I mentioned earlier. The Sheva Brochos quotes that was the minhag of Shulei Diskin, which is the minhag of the first Rav in Brisk, and that's the minhag of Brisk Ad Hayoim. And he speculates that's why the minhag in Yerushalayim, the prushim in Yerushalayim, is not to drink the kos of Sheva Brochos shlishis, based on the minhag of Shulei, because he was miyasid many of the minhagim of the Yerushalayim of the prushim. So here we see the minhag not to drink at all is based on this concern. You're not allowed to drink before havdala, kipshutai. Lamaisa, there are another reason I can understand not to drink, because Lamaisa, we're not rugel. I mean, the fact that you're rugel on Sheva Brochos does not mean the whole kosos bracha is rugel. And the third svara is the whole Sheva Brochos kos is not ma'akiv. In Siman Samach Beis and Even HaEzer, there are 2 days in the Rishonim. Some say you can make Sheva Brochos out of kos. So you have, first of all, we're not rugel, and it's not a chiyuv, and we have Shlomo Klug's svar asil zilzulei. And again, says the Sheva Brochos, that's the minhag in Yerushalayim, at least by the Prushim. You don't drink any of the kosos. So it's a very interesting procedure. You'll get 2 kosos, you don't make a gefan, you only have 6 brachos, and that's it. Now this is precisely why many people do drink the kos. The Buchacha, the Eshel Avram, in Ezem Kodesh in Even HaEzer, beginning of Samach Beis, and Bayos, in Archaim, Reish Sadik Tes, Sifkot and Zion Magen Avram, he says this Eitzah doesn't work, because there's a minhag, he says, Al Pi Kabbalah especially, of Sheva Brochos. He compares it to Shabbos, the bracha of Shabbos, and you have to have 7 brachos. If no one's going to drink, you can only have 6 brachos. So the loss of one of the brachos is so problematic to him, he says, you must drink. What's that to the drink? I guess he holds Sheva Brochos is rugel. We're rugel to have a kos. We could add, you could rely on the Tais Shabbos, El Yerabba, Moirei Or, that even if you're not rugel, but once you are using it as a kosel bracha, you're allowed to drink on a regular seuda shlishis benching. So why is Sheva Brochos worse? And indeed, this interesting point, the Aruch HaShulchan in Samach Beis Zayin, the Kabbalah from Moshe Rabbeinu, that you have to have 7 brachos for choson and kallah. The Kabbalah, again, the Bachach is also very busy with that, but apparently you can't eliminate one of the brachos. And as we think the gefan is there as a chatim to drink the wine. It's not true. It's one of the 7 brachos. And that's why I saw a whole list of Paiskim, the Minchas Yitzchak, the Steipler, the Ber Moshe, Avozna, the Tzitz Eliezer, the Tuvi Goldstein has a tshuva, Chelik Beis Nunvav, all say that Lamaisa, that was the minhag of the Chafetz Chaim also, someone has to drink from these kosos. Don't forget, even the Chachma Shlomo, who was against it, said, if you want to drink, it was an Egen Chiddush, he said, that it said, Asil Zilzulei. Rav Moshe has his shita in Chelik Dalet Samach Tes that only the choson and kallah should drink, because they have more of a chiyuv to drink, and together they should drink not more than a malay lugmav. Get a malay lugmav and divide it between the 2 of them. Each has a half malay lugmav. I hope it's going to drink. I hope it won't be a suffik bracha achrayna, but that's what Moshe says. Not the mezamin. Many, if not most, people that have the minhag to drink the kosel bracha, the mezamin drinks, and also he gives it to choson kallah afterwards. Now, if you ask me which is the ik of the 2 kosos, the kos of benching or the kos of Sheva Brochos regarding drinking, that's very hard to answer. Both of them are not actually a chiyuv, but in a certain sense, benching is a din Gemara. Some say it's a chiyuv. Sheva Brochos, all agree is not, Pashtus, many shittas agree is not ma'akiv. But then again, the kos of Sheva Brochos were all ragel. But I looked into it, and I can tell you that most Paiskim seem to advise, I say most, I know there are others that have differently, but most Paiskim seem to advise that the ikka should be from the kos of benching. And again, who drinks? Either the mezamin and choson kallah, or Ramesh says only choson and kallah. There is a shita that only the kallah drinks, not the choson, and that's because they rely on the shita in the end of Reish Tzadik Vav that an isha is potter from havdala, so therefore she could drink l'chatchila. But most poskim don't understand this because when ma'aser v'chaysh that women are chayiv in havdala. So we could say the ikkim and hagam is some don't drink at all, some have the mezama choson and kallah drink, and Ramesh's minhag is only choson and kallah drink. I saw a beautiful shayla. There were two choson and kallahs, two young couples in shul for Sheva Brochos. Shal Shudas. What do you do then? You only use two kais. You don't use two kaises per couple. So I saw the Nittig Reveal, Perikuvav Ha'ar. He says, really in theory, only one choson and one kallah could drink. You don't have to have both drinking. The ikk is it should be consumed. So he said, what he did is he gave one choson and a kallah the other side to drink. But then he realized that the other choson kallah felt bad. You don't know the whole lumbus, but hey, I'm also a choson. So he said, next time I decided, everybody's going to drink. That's my way of thinking. Hurt someone's feelings is a terrible thing, but especially on the Yom Simchas Levavam. So don't be so cheap. You could falazach on the shittas, even though technically he's right. In halacha, even if you have to drink, it's enough one choson and one kallah. We state you have to have both, but that's certainly a cheshbon. Don't share the simcha, and both could drink. How much do you have to drink? So again, it's really we try to minimize what we're drinking. The Zichron Yehuda, that was one of the green walls. There was a Rav in Satman, Simon Chav Zayin. He says an even a bigger chiddush. He says only drink a kolshu, because mi'ikad din. That's what he holds. Not like the Sharat Tzion. A kolshu is mutter for havdala. So if you want to really minimize the drinking, give the choson kallah a kolshu and not even a malay lugma. But that's not the minhag, as we said, because we hold that even a kolshu is asa. So once you're drinking, drink together a malay lugma and you'll satisfy all shittas. Now the mais he does add that under the chuppah, where the Masada Kedushin typically makes the bracha, and very often they don't drink at all, and some drink a little bit, but they don't drink at all. They give to the choson kallah to drink how much? Not a malay lugma, but a little bit. So again, the Zichron Yehuda's minhag is give the choson kallah a little bit and not more. There is a minhag, I saw the Minchas Yitzchak Chele Gimel Kuf Yud Gimel quotes the minhag that he heard from a Gadol Echad, that in such a situation it's advisable to give the choson to be the mezamein. He should bench the mezman. Why? Since you have to have, like many shittas, the mezamein, choson, and kallah, so if you can eliminate one of the drinkers, it's better off. So let the choson be the mezamein, so it's only him and the kallah, so you only have two people instead of three people drinking. An interesting eitzah, where it might be mutter to drink without suffix, is if you bench before shkia. Now, of course, during the winter, you barely wash before shkia. You can't bench. But during the summer, you could call Sheva Brochos 7 o'clock. And if you bench before shkia, then of course you could drink freely, choson kallah, all the people. That's a good eitz in halacha. But again, if the choson kallah will feel that their Sheva Brochos was rushed up, everybody's rushing it, so it's not kedai. But if you could start and finish before shkia, you could definitely drink the kaisel bracha l'chol days. What's more practical, where this is negeya to hurry up and finish Sheva Brochos before shkia, is a scenario that's going to be negeya during the summer, where typically a choson kallah get married Sunday afternoon, and they finish the chuppah before shkia. So then the last day of Sheva Brochos is Shabbos, and then it comes a whole issue, because the last Sheva Brochos is Shabbos. What happens if you end up schlepping shlishis and now you're benching after the zman? So the Satmar Rav, amongst other poskim, felt you can't say Sheva Brochos. Why? He's Ois Choson. It's still Shabbos for you, but he's Ois Choson. So at least it's a suffix Sheva Brochos levatala. I mean, the mitzvah Sheva Brochos is not Sheva Brochos levatala. So in such a case, it's certainly kedai to bench close enough to shkia that it won't be a suffix. Now, someone asked me, so what are you going to do? What's the big deal? Bench by shkia. I did it with one of my sons, and then you could have the speeches, and you could have the dancing, and Shalom Al Yisrael. The only thing is that then you really can't lie about the choson and kallah. Because the only heta is Ketzim Ragna Fnei Akal, you could say what you want. But once it's after the Zman, so try to stick with the emes. But a stronger question, someone asked, what's the problem, what's the Satmar Rav's problem? You started Mivoy Joim, you go Bosas Chala Seuda. Right? If you started eating early and you're benching way after the Zman, you say recited. So why can't you say Sheva Brochos? So the answer I told him is, what happened on the second day of Sheva Brochos? Le'alechem, the choson got cold feet and ran away. You started beheta, you're middle of a seuda. But the answer is, if there's no choson, there's no Sheva Brochos. After the Zman, there's no choson, there's no kallah. So you have a beautiful simcha without a choson. They sort of just expired. At least their choson kallah status expired. That's where Rabbi Yashiv explained, you don't go basas chala seuda. If there's no choson and kallah, there's no Sheva Brochos. What I want to add regarding a regular shalashud Sheva Brochos is, even if you don't bench with the shkia, the Mishnah Berurah and Sifkat Yudal quotes a Chayei that even if it's bein hashmashos, you could still bench and drink the kosos. And Mishnah Berurah is interesting cheshbon. He says, the Chayei says a cheshbon that some people even start shalashudas during bein hashmashos. Chassidim b'derech klal start shalashudas during bein hashmashos. So if you like to start shalashudas, you could zicha drink the kosos of benching. But so Mishnah Berurah have another cheshbon in Sharat Tzion. He says that in a case of bein hashmashos is a suffix, you could rely on the tais of Shabbos. That even if you're not rogil, you could drink the kais gesund to hate. But that's more practical. You bench fairly few minutes after shkia. I mean, depending how what you bein hashmashos, it could be many minutes after shkia. But if you bench with bein hashmashos, then you could drink the kais without much of an issue. Now, what someone suggested, which was not so bad of an idea, what's the problem? Let us start Sheva Brochos whenever you want. Right before shkia, we'll say Sheva Brochos, and then we'll bench later. And then you could drink as much as you want, when you want. Or you could even say Sheva Brochos after shkia. You'll make Sheva Brochos during the seuda. Then you could drink the kosos, and you'll bench later. Now, you won't be able to drink the kosos of Sheva Brochos, of benching, but at least everybody could drink the kosos of Sheva Brochos. I'll say this is unheard of. You need a seuda for Sheva Brochos, right? Well, you have a seuda. You're in the middle of a seuda. The Oitza Poiskim, Chelik Gudzayin, Amid 78 quotes a Yad David, I guess one of the earlier Go'ainim, that says this is a perfect Eitzah. You can't make Sheva Brochos without a seuda, because it ain't simcha of a seuda. But if you're in the middle of a seuda, what's wrong with benching? What's wrong with saying Sheva Brochos during a seuda? And like him, if your child got married on a Sunday afternoon, and you run into the problem of Sheva Brochos by shlishis, you can make Sheva Brochos during the Sheva Brochos, during the seuda, as long as it's still mivoy joim, it's not night, and you'll bench later. Rav Shlomo Zalman, quoted also in the Oitza Poiskim, Amid 48 and 78, takes strong exception. And he quotes from the Rambam and Tosfos that Sheva Brochos is a din in brachos hamazon, not just in seuda. It's in brachos hamazon. It's a chelik of benching. So if there's no benching, there's no Sheva Brochos. And that's the truth. That's why it's not done. Typically, this eitzah, even though the Yad David allows it, but it's a din in benching. Now, there's another eitzah to drink the kais of benching or Sheva Brochos lechatchila and find a person that's ruggle. I don't know how common it is, but if someone always benches ala kais with 3 people even during the week, that would be mutter to drink the kais l'chol days. Consider the following question that once came up. There was a shalashudis Sheva Brochos that was schlepping, and they benched, and then they were debating what to do. Who's going to drink the kosos? So someone says, listen, I have an eitzah. I did not bench. I knew about this problem. I did not bench. So my location is during a seuda. You make all the brachas you want and give me the kosos to drink. Because I'm during the seuda. I could eat keseuda shoyim b'shaita. So now we have an interesting question. Someone that volunteered not to bench, can he drink the kosos of Sheva Brochos and benching for the other people? Now he's not a Shabbos guy or a Azazel. He's just during the seuda. He'll sip a tea during benching, and then he'll drink the kosos. So it's quoted that the Shavina Rav liked this eitzah. He heard this one, then he says, it's a good eitzah. Then his Eidim added, don't bring a raya from that Maisa. And I think we understand the problem with that eitzah. Since Rabbi Shlomo Zalman told us that the Sheva Brochos is a din in benching, if you're still before benching, so you're not part of this benching. And how could you drink the kosos? But it's not so convincing. Even though I rather saw, and I think this is emes, in Shalmei Moyed Amit Shin Ayin Aleph, he quotes Rabbi Shlomo Zalman that refuted this eitzah. So it could be a lishitasa here. He holds you have to have benching. It's not a good eitzah. But I did see also that this really could be totally, once you have a seuda with benching, so I'm part of the seuda. I have to bench as long as there's seuda with benching. And the biggest raya is, the minhag Yisrael, I think I could say this, the minhag in most places is, you machabed someone to make a bracha, even though he didn't partake in the seuda. He's not part of your benching. He didn't even need a thing. The teretz is, as long as there is a seuda with a benching, there's brachos. So probably it's totally in that, but it's not so wide to say you could bench and someone could volunteer. What I did see, which to me is a chiddush, but I saw the Puchacha writes this, when he had a problem with such a scenario, he got someone that was an early bird, that was a mamar in Lotzeis, who already benched, made of Ma'ariv, havdala, and he came along and he drank the kais. Now, that person is really not b'chlal the benching, I guess, but I guess he held, as long as he's allowed to drink, why not? Now, another eitzah is, I wonder why no one speaks about giving it a cotton to drink. You're allowed to give a cotton to drink before Kiddush, before havdala. So I was wondering, no one says this eitzah. And I saw the Sheva Brochos on Mitzadik test, he says, I know why. Because drinking before havdala, besides the issa of havdala, is also chalila amisas eskra, the Magid Misharim, the Beis Yosef, and Parashat Vayeshes. Drinking even water before havdala is very dangerous. So maybe for that reason, we don't give it to a cotton, else to sakon. Let me leave you with two beautiful shailas, Tein l'chacham v'yech gemoid. But listen to this one, I think it's fascinating because it's so negeya, and I personally don't have a clarkite. Let's say you got someone that's going to bench, whether it's a regular shlishis or Sheva Brochos, you got a mizman that could drink the kais l'chatchila, maybe a svardi or a rogil or whatever it is. He drinks the kais l'chatchila and he drinks the revius. Okay, wonderful. So far so good. Now he has to make an agefan. He drank a revius. Does he say Shabbos in the agefan? So think about this. It's beautiful. What is his location? His location is it's Vadei Laila. He drank a revius. He didn't say Baruch Hamam. He didn't have a Ma'ariv yet. Could he say does he say Ritzei in the agefan? So what are you thinking? Why not? It's still Shabbos. More so, he just benched and he said Ritzei and benching. So a minute later, what changed? But I'll tell you what changed. Because the Ritzei and benching was the seuda started Nibo'id Yoim. This drinking totally took place on Batzoi Shabbos. So if he drank a kais on Batzoi Shabbos, how could he say Ritzei in Al Gefen? But there's one point that to me is very disturbing. What do you mean? What's the only het of him to drink the kais of benching? We just said it's part of the seuda. So it's part of the seuda. Why is it oy seuda l'gabi Al Gefen? That's what I would think. It's part of the seuda. So Mamanasha, you're allowed to drink as part of the seuda. So say I would say just like he said it in benching. But I saw the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Lechem Upon Mem Hey Yud Zayin, the Maimon Mordechai in the end of Kuf Peiches, the Lev Chaim and Beis Lamed Hey both say you drank at night. You can't say Ritzei v'Chatzein v'Yom HaShabbos Hazeh in the Al Gefen. It was a plea to me. I did see Rav Shlomo Zalman in Shmir Shabbos in Tessa Ora Nun Vav, who he says he doesn't understand this, and he says Vivait you're allowed to drink it because you're saying it's part of the seuda. Why don't you say Ritzei in the Al Gefen? But he leaves it with it. I don't understand. But you know what he says? If at night is already Rosh Chodesh, so like the Lechem upon him, you'll only say you only mention Rosh Chodesh, and like me, you'll only mention Shabbos. So that's something I'd like to know. There must be something more to this, why we don't say Ritzei in the Al Gefen. And last but not least, Halavai should be Negeya. Baruch Hashem, we see many simchas taking place by Yidden, and people are making chasanas late into Chodesh Nisan. The question is, when you get married after Tes Nisan, you'll end up having Sheva Brochos by the seuda night. Now, that's a dilemma because on a night, now the Moisval kosos, you also need 2 extra kosos. Zot the Darki Moshe in Tafai and Gimel Dalet, no problem. Let the Mizman, whoever's being Mizman by this Sheva Brochos, use his kos for benching, and he'll drink that kos. The choson will use his kos for the Sheva Brochos, and then he'll drink that kos. So you're not going to have to create new kosos. Everybody's going to drink their own kos. The problem is, how could the choson give his kos for Sheva Brochos? Chavilos. So how could the same kos be for both? The teretz, I think, is pashut. Mi'ikadadin, only the Mizman has to hold the kos by benching. This that we fill up the kos at just a minhag. So it's not really a kos of chiyuv. He could give it for Sheva Brochos, and he can make the simcha. Guten Tag. Thank you for coming.
Shem Irgen Shirtar, like to be Gashikach, or Smith for today's share, like to be Gashikach, or Yakovitz Jankowitz is sponsoring today's share, the Nishmas Oliver, before Zebram, Nelson, Ben Rochia says today to the Shmos, it's Shir B'Sarachayim. To have the great Schuss sponsoring a share called Irgen Shirtar, 718-851-8651. As Smith will say, the Sikkim of the Shir Bez Hashem in 5 minutes. Fernando Menakashem, Motzakadosh Baruch Hu Zakes, is Yol Figure Hibbelim Torah Mitzvah Shenem Alanei Chofetz, the man Tzidka Yagul Torah V'Yadir.
Once he has the coach ready, he's over. Once he has the coach. Once he has the coach, you have to make shuffle. No. Another shot that if it was Sunday, it was Rosh Hashanah. Moshe said, that's very funny. It's a day on them. Yeah. Good. Simcha, you ready? Simcha.
Okay, benching and Sheva Brochos. Okay, Sikkim.
Okay, just let's review what we learned today. Halacha, there's no chiyuv. I mean, that's what we paskin. There's no chiyuv kais or bracha. You could bench without a kais. All agree, mitzvah and a muvcha, and many people are makbid because one sheet holds it's a chiyuv, and certainly it's a mitzvah and a muvcha. Whenever you have a kais or bracha, specifically of benching, a malay lugmav is sufficient. The reason why the vel drinks the revi'is is to avoid a suffix bracha achreina, which is, some say, is even on a kazayis, but as far as the shkia of kaishol bracha, a malay lugmav is sufficient. Someone should drink, best would be the mavarech, drinks at least a drop of the wine, and then someone else could finish and drink the malay lugmav or a revi'is. You could be makel that the mozama makes the bracha, and no one else drinks, after to be halacha is masik lahakol. But it's better would be the mazaman drinks at least a little bit, so the bracha should be chal, even according to Kivega. Yom Kippur, there's a unique minhag that the Rachan Nimol drinks, of course, a drop. He's not a bar chiyuva, but it shouldn't be a gnai. The kais shel bracha is not consumed at all. The minhag is not to drink, the minhag of Ashkenazim, I should say, is not to drink the kais of shlishis if it's already laila, unless you have someone that's rugel. Svardim typically drink the kais of shlishis benching. Even tehima is also before kiddush or havdala. It's not a vort of, you might forget to do the mitzvah. The issa bat smusay is also. We cover the wine of the benching and use it for havdala. Don't bring it to make a chana, but you can use it for havdala. There's no problem of chavilas because the mayer was mafsik. Some say even if you never drink the wine, it's still considered shir al kais al yayin. And you can make bench halachos in shul and put it back for next week, that does have a purpose. Chavilas is better to avoid unless you have no choice. But the minhag today is we don't make havdala on a second kais and then drink the kais of wine. We use the same kais that we use for benching for havdala because there's no problem with chavilas because there was a ma'ariv in between. There are different minhagim regarding shlishis, Sheva Brochos. Some have a minhag no one drinks, use it for havdala. Many people have the minhag choson and kallah and the mezman drink, and some have a minhag only choson and kallah drink. For those that don't drink, use the kais for something, use it for havdala, and you can mix it and give it to choson and kallah to drink. The kais of benching is more of an ikka than the kais of the Sheva Brochos. Some have the minhag of only the kallah to drink, which is relying on the sheet that kallah, women allowed to drink and eat before havdala. Now, if a person benches before shkia or even bein hashmasha, then you could drink more easy because we rely on the shittas that now it's still mutter to drink. You can't say Sheva Brochos during the seuda even though it's a seuda because apparently Sheva Brochos is a din in benching, not just seuda in benching. It's not a pasha to eat to someone that volunteers not to bench to drink from the kais, as we said, because could be you have to have a shaykhis to the benching. A person that made havdala already after ma'ariv, he could drink the kais l'chatchila. We don't give the kais to a cotton because of the sakana aspect. We did mention if a person drank beheta, a revius of the kais shel bracha, it seemed that they don't say an agefen, that's the minhag it seems. We wondered why not. If you're allowed to drink it because it's part of the seuda, why don't we drink it and say agefen? I forgot to mention that there's a shtickle of raya, Mr. Brewer, in Tafkuf Manal Sit Cotton Ayin Bays. If someone makes a siyum during the 9 days, he's allowed to eat meat and drink wine, and allowed to drink the kais of benching after the benching, of course. So the Shmir Shabbos brings this raya that you should be allowed to drink, you should be allowed to say recited when you drank the kais of benching because it's still part of the seuda. And Pesach, if you have a Sheva Brochos, the minhag is that the choson donates his kais for the Sheva Brochos, the mezman uses his kais, so you're not mois halachos, and shalom al Yisrael.
We didn't drink only time shvat.
Yeah.
We gave the bracha, shkia.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
The joke.
Yeah. I gave her so much to drink.
Okay.
Halachos shkia. Na, ich habe gesehen, er ruft so, ich kann mal. Ja.
Bei Chassan also do? I don't drink.
After you go on that.